Pa sad ćemo da vidimo kakav će spin da budemo. Ali da, pazi, nešto je da si pio.
Well, then you display the screen. Sorry, where's the microphone? What microphone am I speaking into?
Just
I don't hear me.
yeah, we're just going to test it out now.
Not being able to hear also.
Hello!
The camera's dead.
Camera's there, but it films that and you at the same time. So if you're rocking, you need to stay like go. I Please. How much did you bet?
Okay, thank you all for coming today, and a special thank you to all of you who are following us via live stream. This is our first ever Catena Media Tech Meetup, and we hope you will have a lot of fun and learn new interesting things and get more familiar with the iGaming industry. We have created a hashtag for this venue. Show everyone on the live stream. So if you're not physically present and have questions for our lectures, please use this hashtag. All our employees are wearing Catena t-shirts and pins, so feel free to approach us afterwards with questions after the lectures. So once again, have a lot of fun today, and we're looking forward to hosting you at our next Tech Meetup, which we hope will be pretty soon. Pass the word to Jane.
Me. Hi. Hi guys, I'm Jane Davies. I'm from South Africa, not Australian as most people think my accent is. I've worked in IT for over 20 years. I've done everything from coding, analysis, project, program management, strategy and research. So I've done all the different jobs. The methodologies I've implemented, CMMI, which is Gartner, for any of you that know capability maturity model, Six Sigma and Lean, Agile, Scrum and Kanban. So a couple of different methodologies. Okay, so how many of you have been on a project that came in on time and budget and the customer knew exactly what they wanted? No changes. Oh, I'm impressed.
Once.
Okay, guys, if you have, you're lucky, but it's not common. Okay, that's why we have Agile. Okay, so a bunch of guys got together in the early 2000s, okay, from a lot of different disciplines, but primarily development disciplines, and they came up with a manifesto, and this is the cornerstone of Agile, okay, and what we say is that we prefer the items on the left to the items on the right. So not that we anti-processes, anti-tools, anti-documentation, you're very welcome to use those, but we prefer individuals and interactions, working software, customer collaboration, and responding to change. So if we take, how's this not going? So if we take the Agile Manifesto and there's some guiding principles, these are the cornerstone of Agile. And the major number one principle is a satisfied customer, right? So contributors to Agile. So these guys that got together have got extensive experience in different fields of development. Some come from a Scrum background, some crystal clear, some extreme programming, feature-driven development, dynamic systems development method, lean software development, Kanban boards, and user-centric design. And as you can see, Scrum and Kanban are both contributors, major contributors to Agile. So, from Scrum, what do we get? It's primarily a project management method. We get project planning, release planning, user stories, daily stand-ups, story points, and velocity. Okay, and there we have quite a nice burn-up chart that's been changed as we go along and as the velocity changes. Okay. So, we have teams at Catena that use Scrum very successfully. There's a Jira board. Any of you use Jira? I'm sure quite a few of you do. Yeah. And this particular team gives us a really nice report every week. There's their velocity trend, and you can see how they've actually modified it. They get their velocity and then they adjust it according to certain factors that they've come up with, and it works really well. And you can see their burn down chart tracking to what they predicted, which is great. Okay, so move on to Kanban. What are the core properties? So, key thing in Kanban, visualize your workflow, Kanban boards. Okay, limiting work in progress, it's cornerstone of Kanban. So, new work is pulled into the flow only when there's available capacity. Right. You manage your flow, you look at your current flow values, you analyze, and you improve. Right? Improve collaboratively. Kaizen is a cornerstone of Kanban, and that means continuous improvement. If you're not continually improving, you're missing the point. Okay? Regular feedback loops. If you don't have feedback, not trying to improve. Make process policies explicit. So have a definition of done for every step in your workflow, not just the end result. And value finishing over starting. So stop starting and start finishing. Right. If there's one thing you measure in Kanban, you measure waste. Okay, so if you look at your process cycle efficiency percentage, what does that mean? Your elapsed time is from when you start doing something until when you finish it. Okay? Your touch time is when you're physically working on it, developing it. Anything in between that is waste. When it's sitting, holding, or waiting for something, it's waste. Okay? So if you take your elapsed time from start to finish, you minus your touch time, the time you're actually developing, that's equal to your waste. Why do we measure that? That translates into money at the end of the day. Okay, so we have teams that do Kanban quite successfully. You can see the board's quite customized. We know we have production issues. That's normal. So we have catered for that. And we have other teams, same area actually, but they have a totally different workflow. They've customized it to them. Okay, so and a nice cumulative flow diagram to show basically how we are progressing. So if we look at the differences between Scrum and Kanban, Scrum's a lot more prescriptive. You have a minimum of 3 roles, so you have to have a product owner, a Scrum Master, and your development team. You can have more, but that's the minimum requirement. You have a minimum requirement of a product backlog, a sprint backlog, and a product increment. And you have time-boxed events. You have your sprint planning, daily stand-up, sprint reviews, and retrospectives. Whereas Kanban is not prescriptive at all. It has only 3 rules. So visualize your workflow as in your Kanban boards, limit your work in progress, and measure and improve your flow. So with so few rules in Kanban, it would be quite easy to apply them to Scrum. Teams could apply the rules of Kanban to their existing Scrum methodologies. So when do you pick Scrum? You use Scrum when your deliverables are largely development focused. They're fairly well understood, even if only at a high level. They're of a similar nature, and your teams are fairly consistent. There's not a lot of jumping around and people moving. Planning should become easier over time as predictability improves. So you start off with your educated guess, and as you get better and better at predicting your velocity, you get better and better at estimating. Guard against scrambling to meet deadlines and overcommitting on your sprint goals. When to pick Kanban. Use Kanban when your project deliverables are a mix of development, investigation, and other deliverables. Your deliverables are not that well understood and require an undefined amount of investigation or time. So sometimes you want to spend more time investigating before you actually start development. And you don't want to be rushed, you want to make the right decisions. Deliverables are not often of a comparable nature. You have a wide variety of things you want to do. And your teams and your priorities change on a regular basis. We have one team that from one day to the next, the priorities change and they need to be able to accommodate that. So for them, Kanban works really well. Okay, planning can be done as needed, and use of cycle time is key. That's how you measure. But guard against a lack of planning and having no deadlines. Your teams actually need to be really disciplined. When you have Scrum, you almost have built-in pressure, you've got built-in time frames, you have a fairly built-in commitment level, whereas with Kanban, people need to be disciplined in order to keep the momentum going. So, some teams use a combination of Kanban and Scrum. So they can do their high-level roadmap with Kanban, and then what they do is they pull off for one event in Kanban, they pull that off, they do the epic in Scrum, and once they've finished the product backlog for that epic, they then move on, they pull off the next epic off Kanban. So, closing comment. So many Kanban teams gradually discover they start doing Kanban because they didn't like Scrum, and then later on they discover the Scrum was actually pretty good, and their problems had been exposed by Scrum, not caused by it. Their real problem was that they did not inspect and adapt Scrum to their context. Okay, and that comes from a book, great book, by Henrik Niebuhr called Lean from the Trenches. Guys, I think we're going to leave questions for afterwards. Yeah? But you're very welcome to come and chat to me, ask questions. I'm sure you've got different questions or whatever. Happy to comment. Okay. Yeah. That's it. Thanks, guys.
So this didn't work earlier, so let's hope that technology behaves. Can you hear me back there, by the way? Can you see me? I'm a bit short. Especially here in Serbia, I feel like a midget. Right, and... I think it's... Try it.
Should put this presentation on my, send it to my laptop instead.
Yo!
You want to transfer this file because my share works.
Okay. You can just share it to me. Each already shared with you.
No, not of you.
Andrea. This or use the type C?
This one.
We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please wait. Mr. Jobs is unamused.
Do you want to just email it to me and then?
Where is it? Yep.
There always have to be some improvisation.
I can dance in the meantime.
No?
I think my presentation is cursed. Maybe I didn't do that.
No, I don't think so. Okay, this one is yours.
Well,
Happiness. So I have a
this is
habit.
Boris, by the way, the technique.
Thank you. So I have a habit of not shouting very much. So if at the back you can't hear me, just throw something at me or scream or like speak up. My name is Kurt. I'm the development coach here at Catena. And today I'm going to be talking about how we build developers superheroes. So who has heard of a development coach as a job title before? Show of hands. Anyone? If it makes you feel better, before I joined, I had one! Whoa!
Today.
Oh, okay. So before I joined Catena, I had never heard of the term development coach. Before I had heard of agile coach, but development coach is something which was fairly new to me. We all are aware of our team leads, of our architects, and it's a fairly new thing, but it's pretty cool. So I didn't want to scare you with one of my pictures of myself, so it's bad enough you have to see me in person. So I'm a geek. I love anything that's technological, mobiles, drones, anything that is, usually needs a battery or electricity, I love. And from a career point of view, I started off as a lecturer. I used to teach Java, C#, networking. Then I became a developer in the payments industry. I moved into some mobile development with Android, back when Android was still horrible. I got back into Java, went into iGaming, led some teams. Being a team lead is a really, really nice role. You get to work with people. Eventually, I became an architect, which technically is very, very challenging, and there's a lot of satisfaction in being able to research. But there are times where you detach yourself a bit from the team, and that obviously has its issues. And as a coach, the nice thing is it balances the technical challenges of the architecture world with the people skills you need in the team leading world. So it's a really nice mix, which I'm really enjoying. And I'm also a fashion photographer. And the picture I chose over here, her name is Bojana. She's a Serbian model. And this year she was the face of Malta Fashion Week. Because Malta Fashion Week and Serbia Fashion Week have quite a close collaboration. So, what do our developers look like? So we're a pretty diverse team at Catena. We're about 35 people, 5 countries. We build slightly different things in slightly different ways, with slightly different technologies, with slightly different skills. So the point is that how the Android adverts are like together but not the same? We're pretty much the same thing, and our diversity makes us stronger. In fact, we have skills in PHP, Java, JavaScript, Python, and we try to use as many cool tools like React and any funky new things on the market. And our mission, even though we're all different, is we're always trying to transform iGaming through the power of choice. I'm sure you've seen it before, or either on our website or the marketing material. And the idea of transforming iGaming through the power of choice is very simple. So the iGaming world is huge. There are a lot of very different, a lot of very similar providers, and sometimes people find it very hard to choose where to play. And what Catena tries, since we're a lead generation company, is we try and give the players the choice so that they can enjoy their time and make the most out of their time, of their gaming time. How do we do that? By building kick-ass products. So we believe in technical innovation, and we want a very, very advanced and superior technical infrastructure. And the only way to have really cutting-edge products is to have a strong team and to build a strong team. You don't just get a strong team out of thin air. You can't employ everyone who's perfect and expect perfection. A team needs to be grown, the developers need to learn. At the end of the day, our industry is a very fast-paced, changes all the time, and even if you're really good today, you should have to keep learning, because in a year, in 2 years, the ideas and the techniques and the tools we use might change. So Catena believes in building its teams and its employees. And by doing that, we will have the skills to build our kick-ass products. So why build superheroes? If you notice, you won't find architects at Catena. We don't believe, and that's TechMan, by the way. He's usually the one who accompanies things like security alerts and that kind of stuff. So we don't believe in telling people what to do. We want people to have the skills to figure out what their problem is and to know what they have to do to solve that problem. And we prefer having people try and fail and learn from their failure, because at the end of the day, we say we embrace failure, but that doesn't mean we're like banging our heads against the wall just for fun. Failure is there to teach us and to help us grow stronger, so that next time we can hopefully get it right the first time, of course. And above all, what we aim to do is to work together as a global team. So each site has different skills, and when we learn something in one place, we want to transfer that knowledge in the other sites. How does coaching fit in? So the coach provides advice. I'm never going to go to someone and say, like, do that. It's not the way. So the way we work is that if it's a choice that we have done before, obviously first-hand experience can say, like, I've seen this, I tried this, it hurt, how about you go that way? We learn from bad things. However, since the technologies and the ways of doing things change, there are going to be times where I might not have seen this problem before. And one of the things we do in that case is we guide the people involved to ask the questions, to evaluate what technologies are out there, not pick the first one, to see what these things do, how they suit or don't suit our needs, and then to empower them to make the choice and pick ideally the right product for whatever we're going to do. Once something is picked, we're there as a technical reference to actually assist during the building of the thing. Another thing is we focus a lot on academia. Doesn't mean we send everyone to school. We have our own beer school. So every week we have a learning session. We pick a video or a topic and we watch it together. We discuss, we learn. These might not necessarily be things that are in our day-to-day. They might be new concepts or new technologies that we don't use. But it's very important to keep up to date with what the industry is doing, because you never know when you might face a problem that other people have solved before. For example, we're doing microservices, which I think Boris is going to be talking about. Microservices is an area that has been seen before, and even though we're starting out on it, we are going to find problems that have been solved before. So it's good to have awareness on how other people have fixed them. Also, by looking forward, we keep our ideas fresh and we keep wanting to learn. We also have a fairly cool external training program. So what that means is we have budgets to allow our developers to attend Udemy and the Coursera courses. We're also compiling a guided curriculum. So let's say you're a back-end developer and you want to broaden your horizons and become a full-stack developer. Say you want to learn React. We are going to put together a certain set of courses that we suggest you follow. Then obviously in your own time and with some help from coaching if need be, you can attend them. We also love books. Books are old school and awesome, and in all our sites we keep a library and we buy any books that we need that will help us with whatever we're doing. Conferences are amazing. I mean, the fact that you guys are here says already a lot. Traveling and attending events, whether they're small events, big events, you learn, you get to meet people, you get to bounce ideas, and it keeps you learning. And it's something which we obviously have a budget for, and it's something which we believe is a very good way to develop our employees. So as we said, we have different teams, and we believe that every team should be able to take charge of its own destiny. So just because one team does something, we don't want other teams to blindly follow. And each team must be able to put together its requirements, see how this problem has been solved, and as a team, find a way forward. Once they've built something and they've asked the right questions and they've put it into production and they're happy with it, we then want to assist as coaching to move that information to the rest of the group. So it's important that we share and we don't say reinventing the wheel over and over and over again. Stack Overflow is good, Google is great. When you read about technologies and you see all the shiny marketing material, you think like everything is awesome. But at the end of the day, before you install and you like stick your finger in and you see the good, the bad, and the ugly, you can't really be confident in the choice you're making. And one of the things we're working on is we're building a playground. So at the moment we're looking at Rancher as our thing. And the idea is to have an environment where people can easily spin up containers with the stuff they want to play with, so that they can collaborate, ask questions, see what works best, and learn by actually playing with the thing, rather than what people say the thing does, which often are very different things. So lastly, I'm going to just put a mini case study of something we did. So one of our pains in Malta was that our UI guys were finding issues, grabbing lots of data from different places and aggregating them in the front end. So as you know, microservices usually have a limited view of the world, and there are places where you will have to combine this information. It's a challenge, and it's also work that needs to be done. And Facebook had released GraphQL, which pretty much was introduced for the same reason, and also to reduce the number of round trips the front end makes to the back end. So we proposed it as a solution to this problem, and Kim, one of our developers in Malta, started to play with it. And at the end of the day, GraphQL is an open source language. It has been implemented in many different languages. So for example, there's a Python implementation, there's a JavaScript implementation, there's a Java implementation, which is not great. So even though Python was our most comfortable language, we still ended up opting for the JavaScript implementation purely because we felt it was built better and we could deal with both. So this approach of building a proof of concept, of seeing how GraphQL works, and then asking questions like, how are we going to give this to people? Are we going to give them a client like we do with REST APIs? Are we going to create standards? How are we going to handle authorization? So these are all questions that start to crop up when you actually start plugging this thing in with the other stuff. Once we've covered all these things, and now eventually this is going to be put into production in Malta, we're now packaging all this information, all the questions we asked and how we answered them, and we're putting them in an easy-to-consume package for other sites, like for example, Serbia, who might want to use this for their own problems. So just to be a bit philosophical at the end, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And at Catena, we believe that if we put a lot of effort and we nurture and we build all our links, we're going to have a pretty strong chain, and that's going to allow us to build some pretty kick-ass products. That's it. I believe we're leaving questions at the end, so find me, please don't stand too close, because I'll really look short next to what you told people, but seriously, just quote me.
Just to make sure we don't run out of power.
Thank you.
Okay, so hello, welcome everyone. My name is Boris. I'm technical team lead here on Us Gamblers, and I will be giving this talk to you about what Us Gamblers is, basically, and the past or the history, some kind of brief history of how Us Gamblers came to be, what it is today, mostly from the development standpoint. And I'm going to try to answer several questions. First, what is Us Gamblers? Second, how did we get here? And third, where do we plan to go next? So bear with me, this is my first presentation in front of crowd, so okay, so what is Us Gamblers? It's supposed to be the most, it is the most reliable, trustworthy, unbiased, and online casino source for our players. It was purchased in 2016 by Catena Media, and Catena Media specializes in general in lead generation. So another thing is that Us Gamblers won several big awards, so it's kind of the best casino affiliate website there is. And another thing is what is lead generation? So it's just fancy term for affiliate marketing, where we basically bring players to online casinos, players give money to casinos, and, well, we make money. So this is just a different way to visualize the entire process if you're not familiar with affiliate marketing. And so how did this all happen? In 2006, 11 years ago, us gamblers had a very ambitious goal to become, well, basically complete the directory of casinos worldwide and gambling and everything. So the first version of website was written in PHP 4. It was using MySQL database. It was using custom framework, and most of the variable data, if you look back here, you will see that it had various kinds of data associated with casinos, such as owner, license, deposit methods, softwares, languages, all these kind of things. It had basically stored in a unnormalized data table, where all custom attributes were being stored in a flat table and very hard to, well, manipulate, search, aggregate on, and so on. So the website back then was covering both online and land-based casinos. It had sections about casinos, poker, skill games, bingo. It also had industry news. Then in 2008, 9 years ago, there was a redesign of the website, and it was basically expanding on basics while introducing more modern design. Hello, 2008. So back then, the website was in maintenance for a couple of years. PHP code got a bit more complicated because there were feature requests of various kinds, and the database got also a bit more complicated. And yeah, it wasn't really super easy to maintain. So what happened was a rewrite. That's where I came in. In 2008, I started to work on the new version of the website. It was again expanding on the basics, but yeah, well, the new design was the biggest thing, and there is a nice, interesting story about this splash. I mean, it was the very cool thing back then. It was implemented as a transparent PNG. One person in this room made it. So, so it was basically the big transparent PNG with this pattern, and behind it there was a rectangular, solid colored rectangle. So the color was changeable. So the color was changeable, and depending on the section which player chose, this splash would change color. So we had casino homepage in pink and so on. And then, well, of course, this was the rewrite of the legacy website. This is going to be a common pattern in AskGamblers history. It was written in PHP 5. Then at the time it was very modern. It was using MySQL database again, but this time around the data was very much normalized because I believe that, well, the previous way of doing things wasn't good enough, as probably most developers do at some point. And the website was built using Kohana framework, which was fork of CodeIgniter, I think. So in 2009, this site was the site search was being implemented by using MySQL full text indexes. The website, from the business point of view, dropped land-based casinos because site owner realized that there's not much money in advertising site-based casinos, instead focusing entirely on affiliate marketing. So, however, the site was still covering a variety of gambling areas such as casinos, poker, and so on. I explained Splash, and yeah, that Splash was very fun to support in Internet Explorer. It was Internet Explorer 6 back then, and we had a requirement of having to support IE6, so that was fun. And again, rewrite in 2010. There was a new version of the website, also expanding on basics. However, one of very big changes. Okay, I'm going to mention it next. Again, MySQL 5, PHP 5, MySQL database, Kohana framework. I think that was Kohana framework 3 at the time. site was this time around translated into 7 different languages. So this was basically multiplying complexity level 7 times, or at least 2 times. The data was there were some issues around organizing data in the database, because each time you requested data for one page, you had to figure out which language it was, where the visitor was coming from. Well, this is all basic stuff, but when you combine it with different areas of the website that we had to cover, then it was getting very complicated. And this time around, the site introduced something called casino complaints. It was very new in the industry back then. It was, I think, pioneer. AskGamblers was pioneer with casino complaints. It was the idea was to allow players to complain about some casino, and then AskGamblers would mediate in this process. And each actor in this process would get fixed amount of time, initially 72 hours, and then extended to 96 hours in the future, during which window the actor had to respond to the message the other party sent. So the process was kind of pretty much automated, and there was some sense of urgency, so that casinos would have to, they would be compelled into responding to player, because AskGamblers was at the time becoming very influential, and it wasn't a good idea to have, from the point of view of casino, it wasn't a good idea to have bad complaint on the AskGamblers. So in 2011, which was 6 years ago, there was another version of the website with cosmetic changes, focuses more on casinos and less on everything else, because what the site owner realized was that there is much more money in casinos than in other sections. So you can see that now most of the website is geared towards casinos, bonuses also related to casinos, games, and so on. But other sections were getting a little bit more buried down the hierarchy. So next, in 2012, most of other sections basically disappeared. Along with those sections, also other languages disappeared, because at the same time development effort was being spread at maintaining other versions of the website, while these versions weren't being alive as much as we expected, or site owner expected. Sorry. And under the hood, there were gazillion of if blocks sprinkled everywhere, where you had to decide, okay, so visitor is going to hit the home page, and okay, we used to have the old version of the home page, and this version is now the visitor wants to see the homepage related to casinos, but in the background we had also one version of the homepage for poker. So we were starting basically to separate the logic between all site sections related to casinos from other site sections related to everything else, and this was becoming very hard to maintain, because tight schedules and everything. So you had to make some sacrifices to make things work. And of course, in 2013, another rewrite, and this time around, the site was focused exclusively on casinos. But I failed to mention that in the previous iteration, we also had to support all other site sections, although these site sections weren't being advertised and linked throughout the entire site. So we basically had the site with another site hidden beneath in order to support all these URLs and for Google to be able to visit those pages and so on. So this new site was basically what we call AskGamblers version 4. It was built on PHP 5.5, Symfony 2.3. It was using MongoDB, developed by external team, and this team decided that, well, since the data is so different, when you take each each entity, such as casino or bonus or game or something, depending on what type of casino it is, or what type of game it is, or what type of bonus it is, you have completely different set of properties that are interesting related to this entity. So they decided, okay, MongoDB being schemaless is much more appropriate to, well, do something, build this project in. And it was using Elasticsearch to index all this data and to allow users to search the site content. Initially, the design was nice and very maintainable, but as time progressed, this changed naturally. Even some unit tests existed. This was very nice, but these tests weren't being developed along with everything else. So on the downside, the code was written by more than 10 different developers. All these one-off requirements was to support all the old URLs that existed previously in the now 6 or 7 year long history of us members. And this was getting very confusing, so they had to implement another custom routing layer on top of existing Symfony's routing layer. So they did that basically by hard coding lots and lots of URLs and trying to match by using regular expressions on these URLs. And this thing that they implemented was becoming one of the greatest sources of confusion, and it was complicating maintenance very much in the future from that point on. They also put custom attributes in single collection, all these different custom attributes. So because MongoDB doesn't have joins, it was very interesting when you attempted to, fetch some data related to casino and to all attributes related to this casino. Then you had to also pull information about all of these custom attributes from another collection. So there were like more than 200 queries against MongoDB for each page. And in 2016, Catena Media acquired AskGamblers. Initially, nothing basically changed. We were still working on the website. We were preparing to release new version of the website on August 1st. And this is what we released. And one of the features that we implemented was loyalty program for our users. We refactored some parts of the website, while at the same time we didn't touch some very ugly parts of the website because these were so deeply buried under everything else. It was very dangerous to basically touch any of that. And we decided to not touch anything and just change website from basically cosmetically, while at the same time adding some new features which were engineered properly. So today it is getting harder and harder to adapt to ever-changing business requirements as new requirements are flowing in. We are at the situation at the point where it is kind of hard to keep track with all these changes, simply because all of these architectural choices that were made 4 years ago are preventing us from making these changes quickly. We can make small changes which we can do at a very low cost at both time and money. However, some big changes are something that we are afraid of doing right now. Not because we are afraid, but because we don't have enough time to to do this properly. Because in future, if we start, piling more code right now, it's going to become even harder to maintain and to expand site in future. So we decided and realized that, okay, so we had to change something. And one way of fixing this whole mess was to enter another round of rewrites. And the history showed that it wouldn't lead us anywhere, at least not in the long term. because rewrites, when you do a rewrite, the only thing that you do is you implement the most important features properly, and then you forget to implement all other things that you had implemented in your old code. So the full rewrite and completely new greenfield development was out of the picture. So the idea that we had was, well, let's jump on the microservices bandwagon. It was getting very popular, and the core idea that we had was to replace existing parts of the site with task-oriented microservices. So we started by extracting one part of the website functionality into a microservice. One microservice that we chose was articles, aka news. And we started to, figure out, so these articles, they have this functionality and these properties and these fields and these data associated with it. So we started to build a single microservice that encompasses all this functionality. And then we started to re-implement or to basically wrap this microservice with a Symfony service around it, so that from the point of view of the rest of the website, there would be no visible change to the underlying storage mechanism of this data. However, this data and all the functionalities, all the business logic related to articles are being pulled into another microservice, being pulled elsewhere into a microservice. So in future, we basically plan to do the same thing with all other parts of the website. There is a lot of work to be done because AskGamblers has a lot, many different features that could be isolated and pulled into separate microservices. So, for example, we have casinos, we have bonuses, complaints, casino rank, newsletter, mailer, media, and so on. And each of these things we can very kind of easily design a small microservice which is task-oriented, which does only this thing, and then use this microservice for the rest of the website. Of course, and we counted that there are more than 30 microservices that we want to build. However, as with anything, as with any other, popular technology, microservices come with big fat warning. You shouldn't apply them everywhere, and as such, we chose to do them. However, there are still lots of unknowns. We're still learning how to walk in regards of adopting new technology. However, we can learn from giants. We can learn from other people who have been doing microservices. And luckily, also in Catena, we have other development teams who are adopting microservices right now, so that we can have horizontal collaboration between different teams, and we can. One of nice things that we can do is basically to implement one microservice here in Serbia for us gamblers, and then we can use another microservice that was developed by some other team in Malta, and they can also use our microservices for their own needs. So that by defining interfaces which are compatible on both sides, we can share knowledge and lower development costs, and we can also try and improve on the work that others have been doing without having to reinvent the wheel across the Catena media as a group. So we also want to grow our team, and that's one of other reasons that we adopted doing microservices, because when you're doing microservices, you're basically enabling development to happen in parallel. If you have one interface defined, if you have the interface defined between two parts of your system, you can develop each side of that interface independently, and then hopefully integrate them, and they should be able to work. So this translates in the AskGamblers sense to the possibility of building several microservices, but by separate teams in parallel. Right now, the articles microservice that I've mentioned, we have started developing that in Node.js, but we are also looking forward to finding more people who will join our team and in order to build a team that would be making microservices in PHP, or maybe some other technology tomorrow if we have enough people who would be interested in, I don't know, developing microservices in Python, just like we're doing in Malta, Java as well. Thank you. And maybe Go, I don't know. So that's it. That's what I prepared so far. You can hijack me in the hallway and ask me questions and anything you would like to know. Thanks.
Okay, guys, I want to thank you all a lot for your attention. And now we want to create some interaction. And please ask Jane, Kurt, Boris, any one of us, whatever you are interested in afterwards. Yeah.
Bye! Sorry, we can't live stream drinks.
Thank you, thank you.
Guardalo che siamo 3 minuti alla live stream.